Hello, I am JSC and welcome to Mission Development. In this video series, I will be sharing my mission of developing as a beginning indie game developer and developing my own games. I have existing knowledge and experience that relates to game development, and I will share how my experience plays out. If you haven't seen my first episode, I suggest you do so because it is where I introduce myself and touch the Godot Engine for the first time. Click here or in the iCard or in the description. Once you're done with this video, I will continue learning the Godot Engine while following Clear Code's long tutorial. So let's get on with it. The next thing I learned was input. Input is one of the most important things in video games. Well, because that is how you can interact, of course. The input was quite cool about how it works. It was pretty much how I expected it to be, through a list of inputs and actions. Overall, it was easy. With this, I was able to get a controllable character that shoots grenades and lasers. Well, through print instructions. Target nodes were interesting. At the time, it was quite hard to grasp. In the parent code, you can make code that controls the properties of the child nodes. But with these target nodes, you could do the opposite. You could control the properties of the parent from the child nodes remotely through code. As of the time of editing, I recently learned from my CS course was driver classes, where information is accessed from different files, and this reminded me of target nodes. It is kind of hard to explain because I don't understand it quite well. I guess the difficulty is a common thing between the two. The next thing I learned was a big topic, physics. At first, I thought it was going to be about the science of physics like movement, but it was more than that, and less intimidating. I learned about the physical characteristics of objects that are stationary or moving through code or physics. I learned about what makes characters move and collide with other characters and props pretty much. To make them collide, we have to make all of the props and characters into physical objects, and then make them rely on physics movement through code. We also had to cover the sprites and basic shapes, which serves as the barrier, similar to the idea of hitboxes. Here's the moment I learned about collisions and having to cover them in shapes. Follow my Twitter for more sneak peeks and updates. Additionally, I had to learn more about the 2D collision bodies, specifically area body 2D, which required me to learn about signals. This physics area node is connected to code when there is interaction in the area with something like the player. To learn this, the code was just printing messages in the output to indicate what had occurred. These print instructions execute with whatever signal we place, for example when this player figure enters or leaves. I find this similar to Unreal Engine 4's post-process volume, which was where properties were held in this box, unless you set it to the entire level. But yeah, I see the potential in how you may use this in game development. With the signals in mind, it made it possible to use the timer node properly. I had to create a time delay for the shooting and grenade input so that it wasn't cookie clicker. In the exercise, I had to figure it out and do just that. I did not know the method or something that I had to put in the code, but I knew the premise of what I needed to have based on my knowledge from learning Java from my computer science course. I thought that it was going to be a loop that we were creating, but every time I shot a laser or grenade, and it would have to loop, but only after the time delay. I ended up following the tutorial, which was something I would have never guessed. The code was nothing like what I would make on Java. It was simpler. The timer would start, and then on a separate line, away from the input code, there was a code function that executed the green light. to loop again once the timer was over. Nonetheless, it was interesting to see. I didn't have any footage at the time because I forgot to show the screen and select the correct devices to record. Conveniently, we have to do it all over again for custom signals, because the signals now could not go across different scenes, and we had to do this for organization and functionality reasons. This is how I redid it. I had to recreate a custom collision body for this game. The process was quite simple to do. The process reminded me of using the pen tool on digital art software like Affinity Photo to select an object. Interestingly, he did not mention that there was a grid snap, which I found out myself to make the selection more perfect. We also applied this custom signaling concept to the shooting input as well, which prints the message on the level scene from the player scene. Overall, I have learned a lot that were fun to learn and then some that were difficult to wrap my head around. At first, I did not know why we were learning code at the first place, but now I see the importance that almost everything is connected through code. Currently, the steps I am taking following this tutorial are very minimal and technical. It may not make sense now, but in the long run, it will build up like a puzzle where the picture makes sense. Check out my Twitter, where I converse and post extra content like sharing one of my first painting artworks of a tree, or simple polls and discussions like what game engines do you use, or at least know of. For more content, updates, and discussions, drop a follow. Also visit my YouTube page and subscribe.